What up, everybody? I'm your host, JP, and this is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
And we got an explosive episode for you guys today. Welcome back to another episode of the FilmBros podcast. All right, guys. Like I said, explosive. Honestly, a very big movie for when it came out. The sequel recently came out, and so we're gonna do a two-parter. That we're gonna do part one, and then we'll go ahead and do part two. But part two probably won't come out until maybe like after
2 weeks from now.
Yeah, like about 2 weeks from now, because we got the Flash to review pretty soon.
Yeah.
But I thought we could, at least cover the first one so we can have it being a new movie for you. We talked about this movie before. I told you I was going to show it to you. We were going to watch it. I didn't think that you were going to 100% vibe with it, but, it seemed like you were doing okay. And I don't know. I'm just very excited for this review because this is a movie. Every single time I put you on a movie and you enjoy the movie, I just feel like, man, that was a put on. You know what I mean? I put you on type shit. But with that, Josh, let them know what movie we are reviewing today.
Extraction, starring Chris Hemsworth. I am not sure about the year, though. 2020.
They were hoping if you spin the chamber enough times, you're gonna catch a bullet.
It's just easy that way.
This is an extraction.
So who are the players?
Biggest drug lord in India versus biggest drug lord in Bangladesh.
Some mythic shit, huh?
It's a kidnapping. Drug lord's son. Clock's running at 16 hours. Proof of life as of 6 hours ago.
All right, guys. So Extraction, yes, the first one came out in 2020 during the pandemic. They wound up making it before, obviously, the pandemic, and it wound up coming out. It is on Netflix. Wound up becoming one of the most viewed Netflix original movies, and that's what made Netflix go, oh, we need a green light one today. We're gonna go ahead and discuss the ending that happened, but I even told you when the movie when it ended, it was kind of like a, obviously they were like, we're getting a sequel, we're not getting a sequel,
yeah, dipping our toe in the water and whatnot.
Coming off a budget of about $69 million, very, very good, I guess, budget. I mean, we'll talk about that when we roll up to that point and see if the budget was perfectly used. Wound up getting a 67% actually just a regular tomato on Rotten Tomatoes, and then a 70% audience score. Do you agree with those numbers?
Yeah, for the most part, I guess so. I don't see why not. I don't know. I don't really like Rotten Tomatoes, so it's whatever sounds fitting, I guess.
Okay, very nice, very good. So this movie, we see Chris Hemsworth as Tyler Rake. We have a lot of what I have learned that they are Bollywood actors. So we had Randeep Hooda as Sajin. We had, this is a crazy name. They have a lot of crazy names, so I'm gonna do my best. But her name is Goldshifteh Farhani. She was in. She not only has been in a few movies, but she has also played a character in that Modern Warfare game, Call of Duty. She was in both of those. David Arbor was in this film. We had Sam Hargrave, who is also the director, but he also made an appearance within the film as well. Yeah, man. So with that quick rundown of what the movie's about, we basically see this veteran who has been through the motions, has lost his family, has nothing to lose, chooses to get paid for mercenary work, winds up getting this extraction on his table. He winds up doing it, but it goes sideways because the person who's paying tries to, do him one over and try to get out of it without paying, and then we go into this adventure to the very end, and then we get to the conclusion.
For real.
Very good movie. Spoiler review coming up right now, so just to let you guys know, this review will be spoiler talk, and I just want to say that before I let Josh talk, because I know his mouth is like a loose cannon, but this movie came out in 2020, so if you haven't seen it, we will try to keep major spoilers out, but for the most part, there will be spoilers. Josh, what was your initial thoughts of this movie? What came to mind when you were done watching it? What are your thoughts?
At first, like maybe the beginning half, I figured it was all slow, but it quickly picked up. I was really interested in Chris Hemsworth character and all that, but for the most part, I thought the beginning was slow, and then it picks up, and I'm just like, well, this is nice, and then the action sequences go on, and I'm like, this is even better, and then from after that first action sequence, it kind of finds its pacing. For the most part, the plot I felt kind of simple. We'll get more into that, but overall, at the end of it, I figured this is a nice movie. It's a nice action movie. It's something you can just turn your brain off and enjoy, which is it's hard to find these days. Like, I know John Wick exists and all that, but I feel like it's very hard to just be like, this is a nice action flick. You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of movies nowadays have to be complex. People cannot just like. That's why I kind of see the 67, and I'm kind of like, oh well, why did you give it a 67? Because it's not just it doesn't have layers. It's not complex enough or whatever. It's not like the Mission Impossible franchise where there's twists and turns and stuff like that. This one was like in my opinion, it was like an old-fashioned 80s, 90s action flick. You see Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. And, the plots aren't crazy, but it just, the action pieces and everything
they keep it together. And, like, these movies need to exist more, I think. Not everything needs to be cinematic, this and that. I feel like there should be a lot more movies where you can just shut your brain off, you know what I mean? And not just action movies, but I know like Godzilla and all those other ones are meant for you to just enjoy, but people want to make it into this thing. I don't know. We need more simple things like this movie. It was really good.
Yeah. So my quick thoughts after the movie. Well, I watched it. Honestly, I think I've only seen this movie twice. This is my second. When I watched it with you, it was my second time viewing it. So I was able to pick up a little bit more details, because I think the first time I watched it, I was a lot of action. There was a lot of hand movements that I was trying to visualize. I think I did go back and I did rewind the fight scenes after I was done watching it, just so I can just look at them and see the different hand movements, because there's a lot of shit that happens. But you're right. Well, I don't think the pacing was horrible in the beginning. I think it felt like how does it called? It felt like when you're on a roller coaster and you're just like slowly climbing up. That's what it felt like to me. Like, oh, we're getting the build up. They're giving us the backstory. And because the first time watching it, you know what? The first time watching it, I can agree with you, because I think the first time watching it, I was like that too. I think the first time I was like, oh, this is kind of slow. But watching it a second time, I kind of felt like that slow burn to the top. And then once it started going, it just started going and everything. And then even like those, I believe the scene where, it kind of slows down for a second to kind of so they can have that conversation with like David Arbor and stuff like that. Even that scene was kind of like short-lived in order to get to the action. You know what I mean? So it really felt like they were really pushing that pace and really making you run through the movie until you got to the end, and then that's when I felt like they really let you soak it in, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, because the beginning, like I said, it didn't feel like a slow burn. It felt very like just slow in general, and then that's why when it finds its pacing after that first action piece, I say like that David Arbor scene, it didn't overstay its welcome. It was a refreshing thing to get away from all the violence and stuff, and then you're like, okay, then it's back to fighting between them, and then it moves on. What I did enjoy most though about the slowness scenes is like the characters it got you to care about when they get to their end point, you're really like, damn, and they let you soak that in. You know what I mean? Like the first one, I can't remember his name, the one that was supposed to be looking after the dude's son.
Oh yeah, Saju.
Yeah, Saju. Yeah, when he bites the dust, you're really like, damn, you know what I mean? He was just trying to, especially after that scene where he was talking to his family and stuff. It really made you feel for it, and not even in like a rushed way. It felt right. We got to see his conclusion and stuff correctly. Yeah, because they totally could have fast paced that and been like to the next action.
He's just like a bad guy type shit.
But no, he was clearly a person that just was involved with this guy, and he was tasked with a job.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good though. After the beginning, everything kind of just finds its footing.
Yeah, and it kind of goes the way it's supposed to go.
Exactly.
So with that, let's dive a little bit deeper. So what do we think about the characters? I know you kind of dived a little bit into it with Saju right there. What'd you think about them?
So I thought most of them were cool. The bad guys were generic. You know what I mean? We've seen it before.
You what? You think so?
Yeah,
The bad guys?
Yeah.
I mean, they were
the concept. Yes.
Well, cartel and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that. But
That's why they were like generic.
I honestly feel like they turned it up to 11. With
They
them,
turned
though.
it up, yeah, but like that's kind of just taking what we know and kind of just flipping it on its head. But we
That's
know
true.
we've seen that before. Like,
Yeah, I've seen
cartel,
Narcos.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, the best way I can put it is like Bad Boys 2. You had the Russians and you had the what was the black guy in Bad Boys 2? It was the Russians and then the Mexican.
The cartel in Bad Boys 2?
Yeah.
It was just in Cuba.
Oh, the Cuban and the Russians.
Well, yeah, the Russian was
Yeah.
ahead of Cuba, but he only went to Cuba because he was running away from the police, amnesty state and whatnot.
Well, yeah, but like you have those things, and you're just like, okay, generic bad guys, and I kind of it's very similar things. I really did like the city they chose. I would have never expected India to be that kind of place.
Yeah, me too.
But I really like that they kind of dove there because they totally could have done it in America and overplay it. They could have taken it to Cuba or whatever, But they chose India, which is really nice. You get to we've seen it in Rio, so very nice change of pace to see it somewhere else.
Yeah.
See the inner workings of their cities and stuff, and that and people can be bought. So you kind of interesting in that way. I liked Chris Hemsworth's character. What was his name?
Tyler Rake.
Tyler. I liked him as Tyler. He did really good. The one thing I did have a problem with though was never mind. I'll dive into that later. But he was good for the most part. The little boy, although I do think he was kind of annoying, also kind of cool. He did his thing. I think my favorite person to stick out was Saju and David Arbor's character. I really like David Arbor's character.
Yeah.
I like that. He was just trying to. I know we've seen it before. Again, this is like action movie 101. The dude's closest friend kind of betrays him for money, so we get that. But I like that sense of even his little action piece. I kind of enjoyed. You know what I mean? Like he's a bigger dude. He'd kind of have the upper hand on Chris Hemsworth. You know what I mean? Him being bigger, and then Chris Hemsworth kind of bodies him because he's fast.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I enjoyed what his character was for that little piece. Everyone else kind of did their thing. No real big complaints there. Yeah,
I think everybody's character was played to a T. I know you said the bad guys was kind of generic, but I think even then I'm gonna use Rosenbaum's word, but the gravitas that homeboy had, the cartel leader or whatever, like where it was just more like respect and everything. I really like that aspect of it, like he just kind of smacked his teeth and people kind of moved, you know what I mean? And I get it, it's cartel stuff, generic stuff, but at the end of the day, I feel like also the layer of having it, and this is probably gonna deal with like a little bit of the world building aspect that they brought into it, but having that setting in India was really nice to see because a lot we see it already in Mexico, and everybody already knows like Mexico is kind of like a poor country, or a little bit there. Yeah. But India is a poorer country, you know what I mean? So like a lot of shit goes down out there too. You even hear like people just pickpocketing people. Like if you're a tourist over there, like you got to be checking your pockets all the time because a lot of people pickpocket, do all that kind of stuff. I really like Tyler Rake's character, and then I like that they balanced it out with Sanju because, in my opinion, it would have looked really bad. Like, this white American is saving the Indian
that
kid.
Was
you know what I mean?
That was kind of my thing too. When I was watching, I was like, this looks really bad that they got military people kind of across the waters interfering where they're not supposed to. Yeah, and
I mean, I get it. It was more. Excuse me. It was more for like obviously mercenary work and stuff like that. So it's not really because even Khan. I'm just gonna use their names in the movie. Nick. She was Indian, and then you had a lot of other actors or whatever. But like I didn't know if you knew, but Sam Hargrave played the sniper that was in the beginning when he was shooting in the boat, and then he wound up meeting his unceremonious end right there in the woods by Sanju, unfortunately. But it was a good thing that they put him there, because it wasn't just, American was gonna save this Indian. It was like, no, his family, the person that takes care of him, is gonna save him as well.
And then we watched him the first time.
and then working together by the end of the movie was really, it just showed their chemistry too, because they went from fighting each other, and even in that one scene where it was like just like that, it was like just like that, and then they just went ahead and like I said, it sounds generic the way I say it, but it is I'm not gonna lie, it felt like a generic 90s action flick, you know what I mean? And it sounds generic, but it's really well done with the acting and with the set pieces.
It's well
that
put
they
together.
Do. Yeah.
What do you call it? I know we're not giving it its like grand thing, but there's not much to give it. It's just done well together.
Yeah, I think the visuals and the fighting and everything really enhanced the experience of this movie, because otherwise it would just be another generic action flick.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You couldn't tell this story, have it be as basic as it is, and then not go grand with the fighting, because then you'd be like, well, this is boring.
Yeah.
I could watch a movie that has the same concepts and have a better time, because I know what I'm expecting there.
Mm-hmm. But Sam Hargrave knew what we were looking for, and so he gave us some hard-hitting action pieces. But this cinematography, and I'm going to put the world building together, because I kind of feel like they kind of mix together in this movie, because like I said, this movie, it really felt like, are we getting a sequel or we're not getting a sequel? You know what I mean? There was a lot of world building when it came to like the cartels and, where the movie's going to lead next and stuff like that. But it was very, like I said, generic and grounded when it came down to, certain world building aspects when it comes to like other main characters that we might see in the next film. Like Nick, like how I said, Nick Khan, like I would have loved to have seen her a little bit more, her being the handler. Like, you could tell in the beginning they showed that they had a little bit of tension with each other, but they didn't really progress that after she was just basically like sober up or don't show up kind of thing. And they didn't really,
like if they had like history before.
Exactly.
Or something.
And I would have liked to have seen that. Maybe they're going to tap into it in Extraction 2, but it would have been nice to have seen or known about that. Not just, Tyler Rake's past. And, cinematography wise, the only reason why I say I want to bundle it up, because it wasn't really too crazy, like, because of the whole setting that they were in, the whole, in that, Indian village or whatever. Like it was very devoid of color, if that makes sense. It was the palette was more sandstormy and stuff like that, besides the jungle scene and stuff and the boat scene that was there before. The camera work, though, when it came to the camera work, that shit was nuts. And we talked about it in a little. I dived into it a little bit in the podcast we just recorded, but like the camera work coming from a director who knows the angles, the stunts and stuff like that, the way that he was able to maneuver and piece it together. And there was this 12-minute one-shot fight scene that you were like, how did he do that? How did he get the thing in there? And obviously he cheated. We know that he cheated. He had to,
a few times,
editing cheats or whatever, but like still he knew what people want, and people love to feel that realism. And when you edit or move, or when you edit or stop something from feeling that impact, that's when it throws you out, and you want that realism. And a lot of the fight scenes were uncut, very one shot type scenes, and it hit a lot harder. That's why when you would be like, ooh, because it would make it seem like, god damn, like they really fucking fighting each other in front of a camera.
Yeah. As far as like the cinematography goes, that would be the downside of filming in a dark place like India. You know what I mean? Because if you go to Japan or if you go somewhere else, it's lit up. While in here, in movies like this, they'll give you that very weird tint of color. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if
it was that tint that Black Adam had in the earlier commercials, and then they did away with it.
Yeah, that's why. Like I don't know if you've seen Breaking Bad or clips of it at least, but they make Mexico look like piss with that little yellow tint they got going on. I'm not a fan of that, but they do that to make it look dirty or whatever, which is, I guess is fair. Kind of fucked up, but fair.
Yeah, I see it as kind of fucked up, because I'm just like, hey, you guys can, I'm not saying to make it look musty, but lighten it up. I mean, I'm sure they get sunshine there, you know?
Yes, but as far as that goes, I can understand what you're saying. Because some of it can be very dark, you know, and they do their best to light it, but it's a dark city. So you gotta work with what you got. And then, yeah, the camera work had me shook. I was like, damn. Because some of these angles were really fucking good. And the fact that they, even in some scenes, like when someone was getting hit and they follow through with the camera, it does make you feel like, damn, like he beat his ass, like, for real. And like there's that whole big scene where he is following him, you know, and I know we got a glimpse of it in that little behind the scenes, but using an ATV to fucking follow behind a moving car is like genius level shit. Like fuck putting the expensive equipment, you know, in danger. I'm gonna get this fucking shot, you know. And then he got it, and then the car scene, I was really just like, damn, how do you fucking do that? He does it all quick with a little body vest to hold up the camera, which is fucking heavy. I'd imagine it's fucking heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the camera work had me shook. A lot of it was more like, damn. I was really curious on how they do that because I like the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, Corridor Crew actually broke down that 12-minute fight scene.
Oh,
so
for real? I gotta check it out.
Yeah, I'll we'll watch it after this probably, but very very nice fight camera work for the fight scenes, but that's gonna lead to
the fight scenes.
How were they for you? Were they different? Were they a refreshing take on it? Did you see something that, you know, they've done a million times and they just reused it again? Like what was your take on the fight scenes in this one?
They were different in a good way. Like, I don't know what it is. I feel like a lot of it is very much real. It's realism, but at the same time you got to understand that these dudes, they're just dudes. They're meant to be just people. There's no enhancements. It's not Captain America type shit. Like, they are meant to be bloody and get tired and stuff. And that's
fatigue, all that.
And this is what I've said before, and I think I've told you. This is my personal problem with the John Wick movies. Like, we know he gets tired and stuff, but you can't tell me he's taking clips to the chest, straight bullets to the chest, his little bulletproof suit or whatever, and he's not getting, like, hurt or tired or nothing. You know what I mean? It takes about 30 minutes into the movie, 5 fight scenes later for him to actually be, like, tired and limping and stuff. You know what I mean? With the first one, he does fine. But throughout them, it gets a little bit more, you know, high-tech and stuff. Well, with this one, I kind of like that he does get tired. While it isn't consistent, I know they show that he's tired, so I can live with that. You know what I mean? Like, I think
during the fight scenes, he kind of you could tell, like, he gets winded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he's still fighting.
Yeah. And, like, for most of the time, if it's very, like, yeah, he's tired, but he's staying up and doing what he got to do. Even Sanji's last moments, like, he was getting lit up, but he was still up and fighting, you know, but you can tell he was close to death. And then, you know, he dies. Spoiler alert. But as far as the action scenes go, I'm really a big fan of the close-up fighting, because, you know what I mean? I feel like
it's really bad to say, like, spoiler alert after you give the spoiler.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe you should spoiler alert and then give
well, I mean, I've kind of been hinting that, you know, he kind of dies, so it is what it is.
Okay.
But, like, those were my big things. And as far as, like, actual hand-to-hand combat goes, I feel like if you could throw in that flair of doing something cool with a gun or whatever, or a knife, something, like, it really shows, you know, what people are doing. Because I'm sure that, because there's this dope fucking scene, I can't just not talk about it, but that scene with the gun where he grabs the mag from his, like, vest, you just hear the click and he pops the two dudes. That scene was fucking sick.
Yeah, the gun work with the hand-to-hand combat mixture was crazy. The whole you know, it was nice too. It was a refreshing take to, like, not see them go down because of just one wound.
Yeah.
Like, he had to stab them repeatedly for them to die. You know what I mean? And usually when adrenaline is pumping and stuff like that, it
makes it harder to fall.
It makes it harder to fall. So a lot of them, even though they're hurt, they'll still push on because they don't feel it in the moment. They'll feel it after the fight or whatever. They'll be like, oh shit. So it was really cool to see that, like, he was actually struggling to kill every single one. It didn't just take one bullet and they fell to the floor. You know what I mean? Like how John Wick does, where it's just like headshot. It was more like, oh shit, like, oh, he hit him in the vest. They're still standing up. They're knocked back because of the vest, but they're still standing. The same scene that you're talking about where he changes the clips, they were wearing masks. So he was trying to shoot at the face, but all you would hear is bing, 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 boom, boom, and then he'll hit him in the chest. He had to hit him right in the neck for them to die.
For it to work.
The I know we talked about that car scene already, but like the realism of the bumps and like the cars flipping and them actually being in danger and driving through the city, those stakes were real high for me. I the second time around, not really, because I know what happens, but the first time around, like when I was watching it, I was on the edge of my seat.
Oh yeah, it had me at the edge of
the
my
fight
toes.
scenes, rewatching them all the time, I feel like the fight scenes, you're able to like pick up little things that you were able to do. The car scene is kind of straightforward for me. So, but even like the first fight too, when they were in the room and he was about to save the kid, and you were like, oh, he's about to clear out this whole room, right? When he like those scenes where like they back up quick with the camera, like when he kicked him through that hole and he hit his head and hit his back on the floor, like that scene was cool because like you just kind of see the camera pull out and him push him towards the camera and the brick wall stopping him. The whole I thought it was a funny little thing when Tyler Rake had to kill the dude with a rake, and he just and like pushed him in there. The fight scenes were cool, but I think they kind of hit a dip, and when we were watching it, I can tell a lot more. It hit a dip when like the explosions would happen. You know what I mean? Like you could tell where the budget went. If that makes sense. So like a lot of the cleaning up VFX for like the hand-to-hand combats, the car scene, I'm sure that took a lot of time. So when it came to the explosions and stuff like that, it wasn't like Michael Bay explosions, and that's kind of like the realism that I come to look for when it comes to explosions. So the fact that the CG couldn't hold up with that, I feel like that was kind of a bummer with the fight scenes.
Oh yeah, Netflix. I didn't know. That's because even that was my thing. I was like, oh man, that looked funny. Every time a car exploded or something, you're just like, the way the budget is it. You can see the budget dwindling at each explosion. Like boom, $1,000 right there. There you go, just to make that little car.
Why don't they give these directors real TNT anymore?
Oh, yeah. Just fucking, because then that's how people die. You lose a bad guy for real. But like a lot of the action scenes were very good, very refreshing stuff. Because even like that room scene, seeing him like leg sweep the dude, there was some funny moments. Watching Chris Hemsworth's character like leg sweep that guy was funny as shit.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that.
Just imagine you're in the middle of a fight and you get leg swept and you're just like, you see the other dude taking like punches. I would have just laid on the floor. I'd have been like,
I would have been like, yeah, no, this is it.
The leg sweep really took me out. Fuck.
I don't want to. I can't do crime anymore. Not like this. You tore an ACL or something. Or that other scene where they're fighting in that little warehouse and like he's fighting the soldier dudes and he picks up the guy, swings him, uses the dude's legs as like a battering ram and snaps the dude's neck. It sounds ridiculous, but that's the kind of ridiculousness you want in an action movie. That scene was fucking
cool.
That shit was
so
funny
fight
too.
Scenes alone, 1 to 5 stars. What would you give the fight scenes alone?
The fight scenes alone, I give them like a 4.
A 4?
Can't give them a full 5. I'll give them like a 4.
No, you think there's room for improvement?
Of course. There's always room for improvement in action scenes and stuff. Like I like as much as I like David Arbor's little scene with him, you know, like I can admit like that needed a bit more. Even towards the end, like you said, there's a lot more explosions going on there than actual like fighting. You know what I mean? They were just quick one and dones, and then it all kind of wraps up because now we're coming to the end. But it could all have been done better. But if I had to rate one scene higher than the rest, I think that car scene is what pushes it up to that 4.
Yeah, I'd say I give it a 4 too, but only not really because of the reasons you gave. Because I mean, that's your opinion, and I respect it, even though I may disagree, and I really don't have a rebuttal for it. But I just think I give it a 4, not because of those reasons, but because of the whole back in CGI. Maybe a 4.5. I'd give it because only the explosion scenes were like the real distracting part for me. Whereas like, you know, that scene with David Arbor, that scene with those kids, that shit felt like it hurt every single time. Like when he swung the kid off the floor into the damn car, when he slapped the boy, when he, you know, the motorcycle, like that shit was that whole scene was funny and well done.
Funny, dude. There was no way he like.
He said little shit.
He smacked him twice, dude. Like he was his parent. He was like, "Get that gun out of my face!" Smacked the fuck out of him.
And I like how they use that as like motivation for the kid. I like that they made him a player in the movie. And yeah, I know we didn't talk about him in the characters, but he slipped my mind. He was like a little subplot. I like that, where like he was like he wanted to be a big badass and shit like everybody else, but like he was just a kid. And you can, since the very beginning, they were showing you, kids that were being introduced to this kind of life early on. And it's true, like that's how it is over there. Like they get introduced real young. Even here in here in anywhere that we live, Los Angeles, all that stuff, like kids get introduced to this stuff really early. And it was very sad to see, but at the same time, like good, like motivation, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I found that little subplot kind of annoying. I understand what you're saying, but I just, on a personal level, I was kind of more like, damn. And then the fact that, without trying to give away the whole ending, the fact that he's the one that kind of
feels the blow,
does it all toward the end, you're just like, I didn't feel satisfied by that.
I didn't feel satisfied, but not for that reason. It's just because they didn't really show anything what he did afterwards. If he was doing the killing blow, why didn't they, show him being by homeboy's side, or maybe spoiler.
He kind of just pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah, like by the end of it, but like spoiler, but like by the end of the movie, they should have had him like. We see what happened to the original cartel dude, so they should have had him take his place type thing. You know what I mean? Or something, like build him up. If they were going to make him like that subplot, make him that prominent thing for maybe the next movie, or, maybe it was going to be, a quick gag in the beginning of the second movie where he's just going to take him out real quick or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they could have done it better if they would have finished. I feel like they blue balled me with that subplot.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little weird. I was just not vibing with his whole character or nothing like that.
Yeah.
No, the whole subplot could have been done away and I would have been fine. Even though the action scene delivers comedy and it's funny to me, I think it would have been better off. It was just like, maybe if they were just random kids trying to rob him or something, it still could have been done properly. Mm-hmm. Something like that. But I just wasn't vibing with that whole teenager dude.
Okay. I'd say that's a con of the movie, but one of my cons of the movie, and I think that this is the reason why it really put me off to like seeing it again. So trigger warning, but is the involvement of the children as well. I didn't like how they were just murdering them in the movie. I think that was one thing that really just like it was hard to watch. You know what I mean? Like when they threw that. Tough. When they threw that one kid off the roof, when homeboy was getting abducted and they shot the friend in the face really quick.
That shit was tough.
I get the balls to do that, but like
it's extreme.
It makes it hard for a rewatch, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And I think
you would never expect it because it rarely happens. But for them to even make it that hyper realistic, you're just like, damn, bro, you didn't have to do all that.
Yeah, like I get it happens and it does happen, but like it was just too much
to go see. That far is extreme.
Yeah,
because even like I totally forgot that happened. The cop one of the cops that's on the drug dealer's payroll like shoots the kid's friend in the face.
He was like, "You're gonna live a long life."
Point blank, bro, and then that's it. I was just like, "Oh shit!" Like I would have never expected that. But yeah, and then the fact that he fucking later on they throw that one kid just overboard, you're just like, what the fuck? I never would have expected that. I think it also kind of contrasts Chris Hemsworth's character in a way, because he'll do everything he can to stop kids from attacking him in a self-defense manner, but he won't kill them. You know what I mean? While anyone else probably would have put a slug in them regardless. Yeah. Like the one that had him dead to rights but couldn't load the gun up in that one room scene.
Yeah.
Like someone else would have done him in. That who knows if that sniper.
Imagine Chris Hemsworth just snaps his fucking neck. Like
he just walks up to him, go to sleep. No. But like, who knows if like they rid it somewhere different where like the sniper takes out that kid or something like that. It's different stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was just one thing for me, and then another thing I would say is the hyper realistic deaths. That was another thing too. Like when David Arbor was dying and they just kind of sat the camera on him as he slowly just inhaled his last breath and stuff like that. Like, I think for me, that was another thing that kind of kept me away from the movie. Because, like, I don't mind seeing it. It's just, usually they cut away.
Yeah.
And this one, it felt like Sam Hargrave was like, look at it. Look at it. This is what you wanted.
Gives it the real weight. Well, most films would, just pan away or cut to the next scene, something.
Yeah.
Have Chris Hemsworth grieve in silence probably or something.
Yeah, I get the balls for it. It's just fuck, dude. Like you got to be willing to
tough.
want to watch it, kind of thing.
It is tough.
And I will give it to you because like, and they didn't do it a lot because it's easily like mind slipping moments because I didn't remember about it before we had watched it, and rewatching it again, it really just cemented in me like that they do this shit in the movie because I think towards the ending or like after, I think they throw the kid off the roof. I think they don't kill any more kids.
Not really, no.
No, so it's it felt a little bit easier after those scenes had passed, but yeah, it was still kind of like a hard watch, especially like David Arbor's scene. I think David Arbor's scene was like a hard watch too, only because like he was just.
Yeah.
And if you have like PTSD from like seeing somebody like that, honestly, the hyperrealism might scare some people away.
It might fuck you up. I think the one that got me more was just Saju's character. He like not because of everything going on with him and his little subplot, but like he was giving it his all toward the end, and then he just he dies, he collapses, and you're just like fuck, like I was expecting him to win. But
yeah, the way that some of the bodies just fall sometimes, like how the light just and then they die, I'm just like damn. And yeah, his character, they let you soak it in, but you just see his body just like flop,
fucking collapse.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Hyperrealism in this movie is crazy
stuff.
Yeah. Very good. But any more cons for this movie that you can think of?
I think it would be the little inconsistency of the getting tired, because while there is them getting tired, a lot of it was like, oh, it's only for the moment, and then we got to keep pushing. There was a lot of scenes where he was panting and he was doing all that, but when the movie needed him to move and be fast, he was moving and be fast. Like they totally forgot halfway through his arm's broken or his arm's fucked up. Like I think Chris Arbor.
Oh yeah, after the first fight. Yeah,
Chris Arbor manipulates it that one time by punching it or whatever, and then after that we never see him in a sling again, and he's able to move it fine and all this and that. Like it would have been different if he was reluctant to use it, but every time the gun he used to the shoulder he used to like hold the gun from jerking itself was the one that was injured. So now you're just like, you're fucking disgusting, But what you call it? But basically you're like, he's just fucking hurting himself doing that.
Yeah,
but they don't really show that at all.
And same thing with Sanju too, because after that first fight, like they showed how beat up and bloody he was, and like how hurt he was, and how like bad he was suffering. And by the next morning, he was already like halfway healed. He was already like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go and do what I got to do and shit like that. Even though they did give us that touchy moment with him on the phone with his kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, that shit was sad too.
Yeah, that it was sad to watch. But yeah, I would say that is a kind of an inconsistency with that movie as well. But before we give it our rating and what we think the movie should be scored at. Yeah. Now, I know Netflix is dipping into putting movies out there in theaters and stuff like that. Like they wanted to. I think they wanted to put Extraction 2 within the theaters, but wound up saying, nah, we'll keep it on Netflix only. Do you think that's because of the hyperrealism in the movie? Do you think like general audiences would not be able to handle this within a theater? Like they would have just like tossed this movie to the side as it's too much, whereas streaming, you have a little bit more leeway. You're able to do a little bit more. If it's not for you, they're not going to click on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, whereas a movie, if you broadcast it to the general audiences, you're saying that we're hitting all four cylinders and it's a movie for you, So do you think like it would have made it in theaters, and do you think it would have been received well? And do you think that that's like a pro and con to like streaming?
It wouldn't have been received well if it was in theaters.
So this movie's not a theater movie.
It isn't. If they took out all the stuff and painting India as like this big underground cartel thing, I'm sure maybe it would have survived. But the fact that it's based in India and people will be like, oh, this is not like whatever, the politics surrounding it. This movie wouldn't survive that, I don't think. Especially doing what they do to those kids and stuff. You're just like, damn, it paints them in a really bad light, and I'm sure boom, you lost India as a place to show your movie, and then other places associated and whatnot. Okay. So I don't think it would have made it into the movies like that. And then you don't have to see it, but at the same time, if it's in a movie theater, you're kind of like yes, it has all this stuff, it could have benefited from a bigger budget for sure. Like, it would have been fucking sick, but not worth the trouble.
Yeah, I could see that point of view. Yeah, I don't think the movie would have survived simply because of if they would have taken out I don't think maybe the way you're saying it. I think maybe if they would take out the hyper realistic deaths and took out the kids being killed and stuff like that, I think maybe it would have been fine. Because to be honest, this movie, it is a movie theater movie, but it's not at the same time. It is with like the fight scenes and stuff like that. Because imagine this movie on the big screen. You know what I mean? With the explosions, if the explosions were done right, a little bit more budget would have really, like, if they would have hit it with 100 mil, I think it would have really made it look clean.
That's what I'm saying.
But like, it would have looked nice on a big screen theater, especially like, the fight scenes and all that. But with those scenes that that are really too much, it wouldn't have sat well with people. So in a way, they found a good balance for it for Netflix. It's just, streaming to me, it kind of hinders a movie at the same time. But at the same time, this movie was the most watched movie of 2020. You know what I mean? So it's like there is a market for this kind of stuff, but it wouldn't survive, I guess, the cancellation. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Cancellation, cancel culture,
like
whatever.
It wouldn't have made it through. It would have been put through the ringer on that level, because people would have been like, oh, you got movies that Netflix says it's okay to do this to them and this and that, and then it paints India as this big bad thing, and then so on and so forth. I don't think it just wouldn't have made it. And I think it's easier to take that risk. Again, this is a really good thing working with Netflix. It's easier to take that risk because at least those that watch it will be like, okay, I can understand this movie. It's extreme, you know what I mean? But I'm vibing with it because it's an action flick and it has Chris Hemsworth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, again, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. Who knows? Like, you are like, oh, it's an action movie, and then the kid that dies first happens a few minutes in. You're just like, I'm not watching this after that. And then boom, you're fine. You don't waste money on a ticket, nothing. You move on to the next thing. I think streaming is just the better option in this case
for this one. So they made the right decision.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I think so too. Yeah. This movie would not have survived in theaters. It would have been crazy. So, second part's coming out. We're gonna be watching it pretty soon.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Any characters you want to see back? Anything you want to see brought back from Extraction 1? Any theories on where you think Extraction 2 is going to go now that we've seen the trailer?
I have no idea where Extraction 2 is going. It can always flip us on its head. I don't know if this is a continuation from the first one or if it's a prequel to the first one.
I think it's going to be a continuation.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shit. Well, then never mind. Because if it was a prequel, I would have wanted to see him work in full effect with this team before they die.
Oh, with that team? Yeah.
Like, that would be my thing. I would have wanted to see that.
Yeah, because that team just kind of ate shit in the beginning of the movie.
Like, you got done in by one dude. Like, come on now. It's not, especially a sniper watching it.
He was the Indian Tyler Rake, man. What do you expect?
He was going in, bro. But that would be my only thing that I would have wanted to see. But not really. I just, like, hopefully just doper action scenes and, hopefully everything kind of falls in place like the first one.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I was kind of hoping for with the second part, we are getting, because we're getting, I seen from the trailer, we're going to get this train sequence, they're going to be in the snow and stuff like that. And that was one thing of mine, that we were stuck in this one location that had a shitty filter and, they didn't really have good cinematography and stuff. So I really wanted somewhere a little bit more with color, a different atmosphere, you know what I mean? So it's good that we're gonna take that route and actually be in the snow.
For sure.
I want a little bit more context, like, and here's my thing, and this is the reason why, like, I didn't like how they pussyfooted that ending, because it was kind of like, oh, he died, or maybe he did if we don't get money for a sequel, you know what I mean? Like, because, like, I felt like they wrapped it up beautifully, because that arc with Tyler Rake where he couldn't remember his kid because of the fact that he was overseas, fighting for the country. Like, he didn't remember his child, and then right before he was gonna die, he had that beautiful memory and he left happy because he was able to finally remember his kid. It still tears me up because that shit is actually a sad thing for me to watch. But I would have liked it if he didn't come back, because it was kind of like a beautiful ending kind of thing.
Mm.
So if they are bringing him back, I would want them to have a little bit more story to tell when it comes to that. You know what I mean? Why doesn't he remember his son, even though he, you know, he's seen him a few times? Like, I get it. Like, oh, my memory doesn't work because, you know, all I remember is war and stuff, and I wasn't home when he passed away. But like, add a little bit more emotion to that, because I mean, what emotional heartstring are they gonna pull in this one? You know what I mean? We already basically know his troubles.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. There needs to be a little bit more weight, but who knows if that happens, or they pull in the string of the chick and him, you know? So who knows? But I see what you mean. Add a little bit more heart to it, because now it feels like it's just gonna be like the John Wick movies where he kind of lost his motivation. Now he's just in
Killing
the shit.
people.
He's just in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean, though. That makes sense.
Yeah, because the whole, like, don't get me wrong, it was a generic thing, but what did it make it generic, now thinking about it, was the fight scenes and was those little subplots where it was like, it kind of reminded me of Inception. You know, like how Inception, he didn't really like remember his kids. Like every single time they're about to turn around, it cuts off.
Him.
I really liked that, where it was like all blurry until it was, you know, time for him to see. And then, you know, having that emotional heartstring with Sanjin, you know, his family too. Like, he doesn't want to do this. He just wants to save his family. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I wish he would have just told those people that, but it is what it is. But he would have probably been alive till this day. Chris Hemsworth's a real bitch because he used them as a fucking he used them as a decoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and he was supposed to be the decoy. Why he didn't die, but Sanjin did, was crazy. But yeah, so that's what I would want. I know it's that emotional that emotional little arc, because yeah, in John Wick 2, it kind of sacrificed that. You know what I mean? And like, they didn't really. It's just, oh, you know, I'm just trying to survive at this point. I'm in the shit now. You know what I mean? And then, same with other movies like Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. They kind of lose their motivation and they try to give them a new one, and it's not usually the same as the first one. You know, but if they could perfectly build on top of it and give us that weight. I haven't heard anything about, because it barely came out. I haven't heard anything about like what people are saying about it or anything. But hopefully we get that emotional weight in this second part.
Exactly.
Yeah. But with that, do you have anything more to add before we give the ranking for this movie?
No, I think we've covered it all.
All right. From 1 to 10, what would you? 5 being middle, 10 being the most, 1 least, or 0 if you want to really give it a 0.
Damn. All things considered, action sequences and all the actors kind of do their thing. All the negatives that I personally found in the movie, it is a decent watch. It's a generic action movie flick that you can just turn on, have a good time for a good moment before, you know, it ends. I would give it, just because, give it like a 7.5.
Okay. All right. I see that. Very good. So, because of personal flaws and stuff like that, I get you. I would have to give it like an 8, a solid 8. Because though the flaws, I think it's points to give to a movie when, you know, even though the movie made me uncomfortable with the scenes or whatever, like I still give it props for it going that direction. You know what I mean? Because no other director would have done that. You know, you always see somebody like, that's a crazy motherfucker, but you're just like, he's the only one who would ever do this. So that's a crazy motherfucker. Like Tom Cruise, you know what I mean? So like, I give it props for that, and I give it that little extra nudge. The reason why I can't give it a full 10, because it was generic, and then on top of that, the whole CGI thing too. I think the explosions really, because there was a couple times where like a car would just, it was driving and then it rolled, but it turned into a CGI car, and it's like you could you know, you could have easily like had it's pretty much a lot of money, but actually have a cop car flip or something like that. And yeah, even though the plot was generic, at least they try to spice it up with, like, you know, the little emotional subplot, and, you know, that subplot with the kid, whether you liked it or not. I mean, I still felt blue balled by the ending with it, but I mean, they still give you that the emotional weight with Sanjin's family, or Sanju, yeah, honestly. And then the kid, I don't really have like a complaint about his acting. I know you said he was kind of annoying, but for me it was like a kid that didn't know any better because he was sheltered. You know what I mean? Like he was just trying to do whatever he was told, but also trying to survive, and he didn't know like who to believe and stuff like that. So I think he played a confused kid pretty well. I just don't see anything special about the performance either. Does that make sense? Yeah. But yeah, so solid 8 for me.
That's fair. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, 7.5 for you. That'd be your final answer.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So, but Extraction 2 now out. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch it before we give our review for part 2. So you can have the conversation with us. But for today, if there's anything that we should have said that we didn't, a movie that you guys want us to review, you guys want to support us in a big way, Josh, let them know where they can let us know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. Follow us there. We post when new episodes are up. Engage with us there. So go ahead and do that.
You say that so low.
Listen to us on the go on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at FilmBros Podcast or wherever you get your podcasts.
Why do you keep going so low?
I don't know what I was talking about.
You're like,
listen,
no, yeah,
no.
And podcast.
Buzzsprout, subscribe there for special perks and shout outs on these episodes.
Else you need.
I swear to fuck. Do you want to do it? You fucking do it then. Jesus. When it's all said and done, subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast.
I will talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.